The following video tutorial will cover how to enter a basic purchase order. The minimum requirements needed to invoice your client are the client ID and the ship to ID, the item ID and description, a product group, the issue unit and quantity, the cost and the cell, the vendor ID, and any billing notes. To start this process, open up Quantum, log into your appropriate company, and click on the purchase order button near the top left of the screen. From here, you can either enter a purchase order number if it's already in the system, or you can click New. When you click New, the cursor will automatically jump down to the Client ID field. If you do not know your client ID, you can look it up by typing the first few characters of the client's name, and hitting Enter on your keyboard will pull up the database of all of your clients alphabetically, where you can use the up and down arrow to highlight your client that you want to enter, and then click the Select button. Or if you know your client ID, you can just enter it. Once the client ID is entered, it will automatically pull in the bill to and the default ship to from the database. If you need to change the bill to or the ship to for this purchase order only, you can click on the button for the bill to or the ship to address. Any changes made here will only affect this purchase order and will not update the database. If you need to update a ship to permanently, you can right click on the ship to ID field, click on display scan, and this will pull up all the ship tos that you have saved. From here, you can either edit an existing ship to, or you can add a new ship to. Also on this screen, you can enter in your client's purchase order number if they've given you one. Once you've verified your bill to and ship to are correct, and you're ready to assign the purchase order number, click on the Assign button near the top left. You can manually assign a purchase order number as long as it starts with your 3-digit sales ID, or you can let the system automatically assign a purchase order number for you. Once the purchase order number is assigned, the system will automatically pull up your item ID window. Type in your item ID and hit Enter on your keyboard or click OK. If the system does not recognize the item ID, it will ask you if you want to enter it as a new item or display the item catalog. If you display the item catalog, this will pull up all of the items that are inside Quantum's database for this client. If you do not see the item that you're ordering, or you know that it is a new item, then you can tell the system that it is a new item and that it's not in the catalog. After clicking OK, it will open up the PO line item window. First, you have 2 description lines that you can use for this item. The system only requires you to put something in the first description line. To move through these screens, you can either hit Tab on your keyboard, or you can just click on the field that you wish to change. For your product group, you can right-click and look at the display scan and find an appropriate product group that best describes what you're ordering. If you don't see a product group that matches your item exactly, you can try to find one that's similar, or in extreme cases you can also request that new item product groups be added. Once you've assigned the product group, then you're ready for the issue units. Issue units in the system will default to M1000. You can change the issue units to anything that you would like. Other than M1000, it will need 2 letters before the slash, and then the number of units within the issue unit after the slash. So some common ones are each of 1. You can also do boxes of 500, or even cartons of 2500. Issue units can be anything that you wish. It is also possible to have a different issue unit for your order and for your cell. A common example is you may want to order from your vendor in a unit of M1000, but then sell them to your customer in boxes of 500. For now, I'm going to just keep both of my issue units at M1000. Next, I need to tell the system the quantity. This is how many of the issue unit I'm ordering. So I'm going to order 5,000 forms, so my quantity is going to be 5. If I hit the tab key, then it will skip over to the item cost. This is the cost per issue unit. So if my cost per 1,000 is $20, then here I'll put 20 and hit enter. The system will automatically figure your second quantity based on your 2 issue units and your first quantity. If you change your issue unit, it will automatically change the quantity for what is appropriate. So if I'm ordering 5,000 and my cell is in boxes of 500, the system automatically knows that I'm going to have 10 boxes of 500. Once again, for now I'm just going to leave both of these at M1000. And I'm going to go ahead and enter in a sell price of $30 per 1,000. Over to the right, I can see my totals. I have $100 cost, $150 sell price. Directly underneath my prices, I can see that I have a 33.33% margin, and down here I can see that my gross profit is $50. The last thing that we need to enter on this tab is our required date from the vendor. I can either enter in a required date, I can click on the blue arrow that pops up and click on the date from a calendar, or I can even right click in the field and click on calculator and let the system pick a day based on the number of working days that the project will take. Once you've assigned your required date, then you're ready to move on to the vendor tab. On the vendor tab, the only needed information is the vendor ID. Once again, if you do not know the vendor ID, you can type the first few characters of the vendor's name, and it will pull up a database of all of the vendors, where you can select your vendor. This is the only thing that's required on this tab, but additional information to your vendor can also be sent. The last thing that I want to cover here is the billing notes. Although billing notes are not required to have your client invoiced, I do want to point out that they are very important. The billing notes is anything that you want the ampersand group to know while they're working on your job. Billing notes are not seen by your vendor and are not seen by your customer. They are only seen by you and the ampersand group. So you can put things such as marking up freight. If you want to charge freight plus 5%, that's a very common billing note. If it is an inventory job, then you would say stock item and make sure that you notate who the owner is. Or really anything else that you need to tell the ampersand group as they're working on the job. Once you've entered all that information, you're ready to save the line item. If you'd like to add additional line items, click on the Line Item tab, and you can add them from here. You can also edit a line item that's already in the system by clicking on it and clicking the Edit button, or just by double-clicking the item. Once you've entered all your items and your purchase order is complete, you're ready to print your purchase order. You can do this by clicking on the print icon near the top right. You'll get that error if you did not click the save button a second time. It does give you the opportunity to save your work at that time. From here, we suggest that the purchase order type you use is the ampersand compact format. This is a format that we developed to not only include our information for the vendor to send the invoices to, but also to include the sales rep information for any acknowledgments or questions. From the Printer Options tab, you want to choose your company from the drop-down window, and click on Print Company Logo directly underneath that. From here, you can either print to Uniprint, or you can send using the send function. This is what your purchase order will look like. Once you're finished, it is requested that you go to Start and log off to log out of the system, rather than just closing the window so that your session is disconnected and ended at the same time. Thank you for watching this video tutorial. If you have any questions, please contact the Ampersand Group support team by emailing support@theampersandgroup.com or calling 330-379-0044.